Shalom, shalom. This is David again. Knocking out these videos, man. A couple weeks back, I had a family member touch base with me, asking me about something she read in the Book of Ruth. And I can't remember exactly right now, but I told her I would make a video concerning Ruth. I had read Ruth early on in my studies, and I think about around the time, because I remember I started from Genesis all the way through. Around the time of getting to the Book of Ruth, I had learned about the Apocrypha. So at that time in my studies, I was hungry for law, statutes, and commandments, prophecies, things of that nature. So I jumped right into the Apocrypha and started reading from the beginning, going through. And again, as my studies kept growing and my desire kept growing, different things were revealed to me. So I got caught up in different books, Enoch, Jubilees, the Apocrypha, reading them all, and then reading the Bible all the way through. And so your understanding grows stronger about certain subjects. I would say subjects of lack of understanding. Okay. So I decided to do this video concerning the Book of Ruth because it's a very eye-opening book. Again, sort of like the Book of Jonah, it's very small, but it's very powerful. There's a lot of understanding in it concerning the men of Israel, how we were as a people, what we've lost, if you really pay attention, and then how Gentiles, people who are not of Israelite stock, were treated by our people who were righteous if they had dedicated themselves to Israel. So let's get into this. There's only 4 chapters. I'm going to read each chapter, and I'm going to bring some light to the subject of Ruth. One of the things I heard in the beginning when I first got in this truth, it was years ago, so a few years back. So I watch other camps, I watch people, but I'm one of those people that I don't believe anything until I study the matter myself. I study it all myself. I'll hear you. I respect what you're doing, but I'm going to read and I'm going to search for these answers. So I will focus my mind on searching for certain subjects, and the Lord will reveal the understanding to you. Okay? One of the biggest subjects that would come up is Ruth an Israelite or is she a Moabite? The Moabites, I believe today, are Jordanians, if I remember correctly, Jordanians. They're from the line of Shem, which is important to know. When you read this book, you realize that Ruth is not Israel, and it's very clear. So someone coming to the conclusion that she's Israel, that's someone who just doesn't have any understanding. Period. Sorry, you just don't. And it's because you're trying to fulfill the lust of your heart. Okay? So let's get into this. Let's go to the Book of Ruth. Good book. Very good book. Righteous judgment. Very important with our people. The Lord will always reveal himself to you if you desire it. Let's read. The Book of Ruth, chapter 1. Chapter 1 is probably going to have the most understanding, and it sort of sets the tone for the whole book. Once you understand chapter 1, the rest is smooth sailing. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. Okay, so the families of the line of Judah. Okay, very important. They live in the land of Ephraim, but they're going to go dwell in the land of Moab. So, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled. When did the judges rule Moab? Let's find out. Let's go to the book of Judges, chapter 3. Excuse me. This is important you know this because this pertains to the history point of them being able to go into Moab because Moab was their enemy. That's right. Moab is an enemy of Israel. The book of Judges, chapter 3, verses 26 through 30. And Ehud escaped while they tarried and passed beyond the quarries and escaped them to Siraf. And it came to pass when he was come that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim. And the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them. And he said unto them, Follow me, for the Lord hath delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. The Lord hath delivered your enemies. Ehud was woken up to redeem Israel, in a sense, to, be their Moses in a sense. And they went down after him and took the fords of Jordan towards Moab and suffered not a man to pass over. And they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valor, and there escaped not a man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest 80 years. Okay. So the Lord allowed them to go into Moab and take over the land. The Lord did. Not Israel's decision. The Lord sent them there to do the work. Book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 3. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her 2 sons, and they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth, and they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. So Naomi's husband died, and her 2 sons. So you have Naomi and the 2 women of Moab who had married her 2 sons. They're widows now. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people and giving them bread. Remember, there was a famine. So the Lord started redeeming Israel and giving them bread again. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return into the land of Judah. So they're going back into the land of Judah, their original land. Naomi. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband, so they can go back to the land and dwell in the homes of their husband. But they can leave now. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, excuse me. Huh. And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. Boom. We're going to come with you to your people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? That's right. Okay, so let me stop there. Let's go to the law. So they took women of Moab. The Lord let Israel go into Moab and conquer. Let's go to the law. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21, verses 10 through 14. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house. And bewail her father and her mother a full month, and after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will, but thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. That's right. So, more than likely, these two women have done this. One of them for sure. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verses 5 through 6. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she bear shall succeed in the name of his brother, which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. So this is why the mother is saying, I don't have any more sons, so you need to, I can't have any more sons. I don't have a husband. So let's keep going. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons of my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they are grown? Yeah, you're going to stay around till they're grown? You're already grown women. Would ye stay for them for having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieves me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. So Orpah, she's about to go depart, but Ruth clave. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from from following after thee. For whether thou goest, I will go. And where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. So she's making a dedication to the Lord. She's going to dwell with Israel. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. So she's dedicating her life to the Lord. That's very important to understand. Okay? She's bowing herself to the Lord God. I will die for the Lord to be with your people. Gentiles need to pay attention to that. What is it? Zechariah 8? One man will hold on to the skirt of he that is a Jew. 10 men out of the nations. You're going to have to cleave to Israel. Sorry about that. And when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. Okay, so be it. Let's go. So the two went until they came to Bethlehem, and it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing that the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. Now, notice she said she returned empty, but Ruth is with her. So if Ruth was Israel, she wouldn't be empty. She's a stranger. She's a Gentile. Remember, Israel is, the Gentiles sort of accounted as nothing in the eyes of the Lord. So our people knew that. She showed her dedication to the Lord God of Israel. The Lord put a spirit on Ruth to be like that. Her sister left to work with the other gods. She dedicated her life to Israel. Naomi understands this. She knows the Spirit of the Lord is working with her. Come on with me. Chapter 2. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. That's right. This is important. Their brethren, line of Judah, their close kin. And Ruth the Moabite said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap was too light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. Okay, so it just so happened that, in a sense, fate had it that when she went to go do this work, she just happened to land on the land of Boaz, his field. She didn't know it was his field. The Lord is sending it that way. Let's read. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered him, the Lord bless thee. So the people who work for Boaz, who are more than likely strangers or Gentiles, being servants, which is Isaiah 61, they're happy. The Lord be with you, Boaz. Boaz has servants. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Okay, that's important. Let's go to the law. Let's go to the law. Let's go to two laws. Leviticus 19, verses 33 through 34. It's important you understand because it's going to come up. And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Leviticus 23, verses 22. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field when thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest, thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am the Lord your God. Okay, so you don't, if things are falling, you leave it. Okay, this is important you understand this. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 19 through 22. When thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hands. When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When thou gatherest the grapes of thy vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterward. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And thou shalt remember that thou was a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. Okay, so the law of the Lord is to keep you thinking like the Lord and not like other men. Be careful who you listen to. And the Book of Ruth, chapter 2, verse 7. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. So she's gathering after the reapers. Okay, she's getting what the Lord allows in the law for a stranger. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. So he's saying, don't go anywhere else. You stay with us. You can stay with my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go unto the vessels, and drink of that which the young men have drawn. So he's showing grace to her. Okay? He's showing grace to her. He told the men, don't you mess with her. She can drink amongst Israel. This is also showing she's a stranger. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him, why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? Right? And Boaz answered and said unto her, it hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. See how it changes the dynamic when you understand the law? Then she said, let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord. She's calling him Lord. That's coming. This is what we lost as a people. Servants, righteous acknowledgement, and righteousness with dealing with people. See, today, the Jordanians, the Edomites, they're unrighteous with you. Okay? You're not acknowledging that they're unrighteous with you. Back then, they knew who you were, that you were the chosen of the Lord. See what we lost for our sin? For that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thine handmaids. That's right, she's not Israel, but you've been kind to me. See, because Israel wouldn't deal with other people unless they converted. And Boaz said unto her, at mealtime come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed, and left. So she sat by the workers, she ate, and she left. She didn't stay and hang out. And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. So let her even pluck them. Don't let her pick this up off the ground. Let her get the choice crop. He likes her. And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her. So when you are gathering some of the choice crop, let some of them fall from your hand so she can grab them too. And leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. So she gleaned in the field until even, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And her mother-in-law said unto her, where hast thou gleaned today, and where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law, and with whom she had wrought, and said, the man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, blessed be he of the Lord, who have not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead, because Boaz is acknowledging her virtue according to the law. He knows that she was the wife of his kinsman, his brethren. And Naomi said unto her, the man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. And Ruth the Moabitess said, he said unto me also, thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. So he likes her, he's keeping her around. And Naomi said unto Ruth her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. Chapter 3. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, my daughter, Shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he wenteth with barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man, until he shall have done eating and drinking. So she's sending off to go be a wife. He's our kinsman. It's lawful. And it shall be when he lieth down that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And she said unto her, All that thou sayest unto me I will do. And she went down unto the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet, and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. So she wants to lay with him. She wants to be his wife. She's giving herself to him. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed me more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. So she's not choosing a young Dolph because he got bread. She's going to choose a righteous man of the Lord, nor a young man. It's not important to her. She's choosing a man who fears God. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest, for all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. So everybody in Israel knows Ruth is virtuous, righteous with the Lord. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman, howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. So he's near kinsman, but there's someone in line before him. Let's keep going. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Lord liveth, lie down until the morning. So he's not going to lay with her, because that'd be against the law. He's going to inquire of the brethren who's ahead of him. And she lay at his feet until morning, and she rose up before one could know another. And he said, Let it not be known that a woman came unto the floor. And he said, Bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured six measures of barley, and laid it on her. And she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, Who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said, These 6 measures of barley gave he me, for he said to me, Go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. Then she said, Sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall, for the man will not be in rest until he have finished his thing today. She knows Boaz likes her. Okay, he gave her all that barley. You know, he's being righteous with her. But he wants her around. Chapter 4 is the last chapter. Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside. Yeah, so Israel's like, Hey, what's up, man? What's going on, brother? Sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and he said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that has come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. Okay, so let's go to the law. The book of Numbers, chapter 27, verses 8 through 11. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man die and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he have no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren. And if he have no brethren, then he shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. And if his father have no brethren, then he shall give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next to him of his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of judgment as the Lord commanded Moses. Okay, so if you're not going to redeem it, I'm next in line to redeem it. He's our kinsman. And he excuse me. Okay, for verse 4. For there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. So you take this inheritance, you have to take the wife too to raise up a name. That changes things. Let's keep reading. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. He must have a wife, and he must have children already. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the manner in former days, in former time in Israel, concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe, and Boaz said unto the elders and to all the people, ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. Okay, so she is non-Israelite, right? So he's about to have a child with her to raise up brethren in Israel. Okay, the Lord is a lover of men. Okay, and the seed of an Israelite man is holy seed. And I think you find that in the book of Ezra. I think it's chapter 7. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel, and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be the house of Pharez, who Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. That's right. The Lord has a hand in this. Okay, there's a purpose for this. The Lord, you notice, everybody keeps mentioning the Lord in this purpose. The Lord is blessing this union. Everything's working out according to the Lord's plan. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age, for thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, have borne him. So Ruth is getting high praise in Israel. They're comparing her to Leah. They're comparing her to Rachel. It's high praise. Okay. This is also for women of Israel and women who are Gentiles, how you should be carrying yourself as a woman. Who can find a virtuous woman? I think that's Proverbs 31. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it. And the woman, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David, King David. Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begat Hezron, and Hezron begat Ram, and Ram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nahshon, and Nahshon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz, and Boaz begat Obed, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David, which became king of Israel, to the line of Judah. So people giving you these, I'm going to say, lack of understanding doctrines concerning so-called Gentiles or heathens. They don't know the history of the book. Your king David was born from the seed of Boaz, who is Israel, but the mother who bore him was of the land of Jordan, aka Moab. And another one of these doctrines of light-skinned Negroes being the products of rape. Well, you better start looking up some history of the people of Jordan. You go in the Book of Jubilees, you learn about other Israelite men who had other children. Simeon had one, but he repented of the wife because more than likely she was unrighteous. Abraham told his son Ishmael to get rid of one of his wives because she was unrighteous. It has to do with who the woman worships. If she's a Gentile woman, she's dedicated her life to die for Israel. Because you're going to join Israel, you're going to die with us because death is coming our way. You're going to turn your back on your own people. You're going to dwell in the congregation. Now, Ruth, being that she's a Moabite, she would not be in the congregation of the Lord. Okay? That's different. So she wouldn't be dealing in the tabernacle. She probably wouldn't even be in the court. She'd probably be at home taking care of the kid. Boaz to go do his worshiping, things of that nature. I hope this video was edifying. We're supposed to be making righteous judgment and seeking the understanding to learn the righteousness of the Lord. I know a lot of my videos seem direct, but that's how it has to be. Again, our people are dying for not keeping the commandments and coming back to the Lord in all righteousness. And the Lord is hunting Israel at an abundant rate. But this video, hope it's edifying. And I got more videos to come. All praises Most High God, the Holy One of Israel, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and all praises the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and mankind who fears God. Shalom.